What do sports, video games, and writing all have in common? If you said that they are all skills that can be enhanced and built upon, then good on you, because you're exactly right. What makes writing different though is that it can be difficult to see just how you're supposed to get better at it. Now, you could go about fumbling around on your own trying to figure this out, or you could even spend, top dollar on classes and courses that are designed to improve your writing, or you could just stay tuned to this video. How's it going, guys? It's Pat, your friendly internet wordsmith, and for today's video, I am going to be giving you my advice on how to improve your writing. Tip number 1, go out and pick you up some new books to read. Reading and writing often go hand in hand. So much so that if you polled a group of writers, there's a strong chance that if you ask them what inspired them to be a writer, there's a good chance their answer is going to reference a favorite book or a favorite author or a favorite series or something to that effect. And so one of the best ways to improve your writing is to actually go out and read books. Now, you may be wondering, well, just how does reading a book translate into improving my writing? And basically the idea here is that you want to go out and, read a book, but not just read it, and really analyze it and take it in. You want to take in the style. You want to break down basically everything you like about the book and figure out why it is you like it. You then want to take this information and apply it to your own work. And to be clear, we're not talking about copying things here, because obviously that would be bad. You basically want to look for things to inspire you and get your creative juices flowing. You want to take what you find in another work that you find is working well, you resonate with it, it's awesome to you, and you want to experiment with it and twist it to fit within your own work and world and, make it into your own, basically. Ideally for this, you want to be reading books that are within your genre. Or let's say if you're doing like a genre mashup or whatever, you want to be reading books that, will relate to what you're going to be writing about. Now, in your pursuit of doing this, there is a possibility that you're going to run across trash books. It's kind of inevitable, but even that is okay, because even if you find a book that you don't like, it's just complete garbage. It's just a waste of time to read. You can still learn from that by basically learning what not to do. And it might even be a fun exercise of taking that trash book and writing it, well, here's how we would fix it, if that makes sense. Tip number 2, try joining a writing group or getting a critique partner. As I've mentioned before in previous videos, having your work critiqued is extremely valuable, and it's something that you should never pass up as a writer. You should always be getting your work critiqued. Now, previously, I've talked more so about how critiques help you in the short term with like a specific project and making sure that's the greatest. But getting your work critiqued and having, say, a critique partner or, a writing group can actually help you in the long term as well. Fundamentally, joining a writing group or getting a critique partner forms a bit of a symbiotic relationship that's more beneficial the longer it lasts. Ideally, you'll be forming bonds with writers that, over time, you all should be learning and growing from each other and just becoming better writers all around. For example, let's say you're working with your critique partner and they give you some advice stating that, your action scenes could be a little bit more spicier if you include more direct and powerful verbs. Now, this is a critique and advice that, specifically pertains to whatever manuscript you're working on in the immediate. However, this is also advice that you can grow from and apply to your further projects. There's no reason why you can't take this advice that is specific to this scenario and use this to avoid that mistake later on. Now, that's not to say that you should only work with critique partners in a writing group until you feel like you've grown and advanced enough to where you can stockpile all the advice you've gotten and you're just Gucci now. For one, that'd be a dick move. Don't be a dick. For 2, yeah, your critique partners and writing groups and whatnot are your first line of defense for catching mistakes in your work. And there isn't a writer alive who writes something flawlessly the first time around. So yeah, don't be that guy. And for 3, if there's ever a day where you've reached a point where you just can't improve on anything else, you've reached just the end of the road, yeah, I hate to break it to you, but you're dead and gone, bud. Everyone can improve on something. On to tip number 3, you need to write more, particularly something that is outside of your comfort zone. Now, this tip might sound a little bit weird, but trust me, it's arguably the best one on the list. Another commonality amongst writers, particularly published authors, is that their debut novel is actually not the first book they've ever written. For me personally, my book coming out this fall is actually the 4th book I've ever written. 6th if we count books that I started but didn't finish. In other words, my first book to be released is really more so the first book that I feel is good enough to be released. Over the years, I've continued to push forward and keep writing and, keep churning out the words. And over time, I've built up my craft and, just continue to improve. And to be clear, it's not enough to just keep on writing for the sake of writing, just, putting words on the page over and over again. Yeah, if you're doing something wrong, it doesn't matter how many times you do it. If you don't adjust your approach to, the next time around, then you're just going to keep getting it wrong. I recommend that you try, writing something that will put you outside of your comfort zone. For example, if you normally write, fantasy work, try writing science fiction or, something to that effect. If you're normally writing in first person, switch up the perspective. Basically, you just want to switch things up and push yourself creatively to try to breed growth. Tip number 4, try taking a break from writing to, go enjoy other avenues. Yes, I realize that in the last tip, I just told you to keep on writing, and that still stands. But if you find yourself in a slump creatively and you've tried just writing through it, trying to improve, and you're hitting a wall, then it might be time to try, just taking a break from writing and going out and enjoying a different medium. And by that, I mean, TV, movies, plays, basically anything other than books. Now, this kind of piggybacks off of tip 1 in a way, but it's different in the way that you absorb the media. When it comes to reading books, you obviously read the words on the page, you absorb them, and then you visualize the information. And it's pretty much a 1-to-1 translation with writing. When it comes to watching TV or movies or whatever, you're absorbing both video and auditory stimuli. In other words, the work's being done for you, which is why these, sources of media can be so relaxing. You just got to sit back and watch and enjoy it. Now, this can improve your writing because, for one, it can be a huge source of inspiration. For me personally, anime is huge for this. A lot of my writing is influenced by anime, and fun fact, usually when I'm writing something, I'm visualizing it in my head, it has an anime aesthetic. Yeah, take that as you will. Second, utilizing this information requires you to sort of translate it, if that makes sense. For example, if you're reading a dope fight scene in a book and you want to try to emulate it in your own work, that's an easier task because, yeah, this is, like I said, a 1-to-1 translation. In both scenarios, you're talking about the written word. Easy. Now, if you see a dope fight scene in a TV show you're watching, well, you have to take that visual and audio information and everything that is encompassed in that, and you have to try to capture that with your words, which obviously is going to be a bit more of a challenge. And finally, tip number 5, consider writing in a more hybrid style. Now, when it comes to writing and organizing your plot, there are basically 2 camps here. You can either be a plotter or a pantser. And yes, I said pantser, and yes, I realize the name is terrible. Yeah, I don't know who co-signed the name Pantser, but it makes it seem like you enjoy going around and dropping people's britches. Not a fan of the term. Anywho, plotting is when you have, your whole outline put together. You know exactly where your story begins and where it's going to end. Everything is just a detailed roadmap, just guiding you along the journey. Pantsing, on the other hand, is basically the complete opposite. You write flying by the seat of your pants, which is where the term comes from. Here, you're basically just letting the words guide you. You don't know where things are going to go. It just kind of sparks and happens. Now, originally, I was a pantser. Yeah, and originally, I was a pantser. And yeah, I would basically start a story with a general idea and how I wanted the story to end and maybe how I wanted it to begin. Usually just how I wanted it to end. And yeah, the rest I would just make up as I went. But see, the problem with that is I didn't have a clear roadmap, and so there'd be points where I would get stuck and not know how I was going to connect the dots. And yeah, that would lead to a lot of times where I'd want to write. I know I'd had to sit down to write if I'm going to finish this project I need to write, but I'd be like, yeah, I don't know what to do. I first attempted outlining back in 2018 when I attempted NaNoWriMo for the first time, and I got like the best writing done than I had ever gotten done in like my entire life. That being said though, I don't think purely outlining everything is the way to go here. I don't think it's conducive for the best writing. And I'll break it down for you. If I had to guess, my debut novel is likely 70% things that I, planned out before even writing a single word. And the remaining 30% is just shit I came up with off the cuff while writing. Now, I still very much enjoy those moments when you're writing and you just get that spark of imagination and creativity. And it's just like, yeah, we plan to go this way, but yeah, the story would be fucking crazy and a lot better if we went just totally off in this other direction. And yeah, I still very much enjoy those moments. And when you're purely in one of the two camps, like if you're just purely outline, we have, all these different plots we got to hit, yeah, you don't allow for those moments of just intense creativity and that freedom of writing if you're solely in that camp, and you can miss out on some clear opportunities there for some spicy writing. And conversely, on the other hand, if you don't have a roadmap at all, yeah, waiting for those sparks to come, because they don't come often. And yeah, if you're just waiting for those sparks of imagination and whatnot, you might not end up going through the journey at all. It can be a slog just waiting for those bursts of ideas and whatnot. So yeah, I find that it's best to merge the two together. And that's gonna do it for this video, guys. Catch you in the next one.
Thanks for kicking it with us. If you had a good time, go ahead and slap that like button. And if you're new, consider subscribing, because we do this every week. Of course, you're going to want to hit that bell too, so you never miss an upload. Have an awesome day, achieve something great, and we'll catch you later.